Welcome to Digital Asset News. We take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break it down into bite-sized pieces. Before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping. First of all, this channel and this video is for educational purposes only. I'm not a financial planner or a financial analyst or anything that has to do with finances. I'm just a small business owner that has a keen interest in cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Second, if you could help us beat the YouTube algorithm, that would be fantastic. Just do one of three things. Like the video if you like it, give us a comment below, and it could be anything. It could be that the video was awesome or the video was terrible. Just make sure it's specific to this video. And the last thing is to subscribe. Now you don't have to do all three, but if you do one of those, that would be great. Let's jump into the stories today. First up, Bitcoin has 1 day left until a fatal flaw destroys it, according to Bitcoin Satoshi Vision creator Craig Wright and potential Satoshi Not-a-moto or fake one, who knows. Secondly, XRP and Bitcoin make the almost perfect cryptocurrency, prominent crypto analyst states, and it only needs these three things to be considered perfect. And lastly, we're going to talk about how the low XRP price has two possible main reasons brought to us by Mati Greenspan. That's a pretty good name, Mati. All right, let's get to it. First things first, everybody's favorite guy to hate, Craig Wright. Let's be honest, no one likes him. I mean, maybe someone likes him. I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's kind of like one of those guys who you just really can't trust, but he's a pretty smart guy, so you're like, what the hell's going on with this guy? Anyhow, he's the one that claimed that he was Satoshi Nakamoto. A lot of people believe that is incredibly false. But what he says, he made a prediction that Bitcoin would be destroyed at the end of 2019. Here's what he says. He said about a year ago, they will learn next year that there is a fatal flaw in Bitcoin. And by fatal, I mean there won't be any Bitcoin by the end of next year, which is tomorrow. Today is December 30th, 2019, so we'll see if he's right. If everything blows up, then I'll be like, wow, Craig Wright was amazingly accurate, and he's probably Satoshi Nakamoto. However, if Bitcoin does stay around, I'm pretty sure he's full of shit. All right, so the next part is he talks about Wright will have to, this is from the editor here, Wright will also have to eat his words one more time unless the price of his beloved Bitcoin's SV fork touches $1,200 by the end of the year. Wright stated that there was a 97.8% chance that an outlandish price forecast would come to fruition. Basically, he said, hey, my project Bitcoin SV will be $1,200 by December 31st, 2019. So right now it's trading for like around less than $100. So if it takes off, then yeah, you never know. It could go up by 1,000%. I have no idea. Meanwhile, Bitcoin, which was predicted to go back to 10 cents by Wright, is still up by more than 95% this year, sitting at $7,200. So Craig Wright is the ultimate technical analyst failure if he doesn't get these things right by tomorrow. But we will see. So hold on to your horses, everybody. Bitcoin could implode and this whole market could be awful, and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision could be the big winner. That is sarcasm. All right, moving on. This was a great one. It talks about XRP and Bitcoin make almost the perfect cryptocurrency. And this was given to us by Jacob Canfield. Apparently he's a popular trader on TradingView. You guys know my opinion on technical analysis. I'm not smart enough to understand it, and I just don't believe in it. I'm old. I'm over 40. For some of you, that's not that old, but as you're over 40, you tend to not take so many risks. So with technical analysis, you're kind of like, what's going on? And from what I've seen being in this game over 2.5 years, TA people tend to be not too accurate. But I mean, hey, there's probably somebody out there that's super accurate. If you are, let me know. I've got this thing called a TA Weatherman report. And it is a listing of all the different technical analysis that people give to me, and then I put it in there and we kind of check up on it, see who's right and who's wrong. So if you got something like that, let me know. Be interesting. I'm always looking for the right answer. If that means I'm wrong, so much the better, because guess what? I'm wrong a lot. Ask my wife. Anyhow, so this article talks about the almost perfect crypto. There's three aspects that make the perfect cryptocurrency digital asset: secure, scalable, and decentralized. Those are the three things that this gentleman talks about. Now, both Bitcoin and XRP lack just one aspect of those, as per this gentleman, Jacob Canfield. So don't bite my head off if you're a Bitcoin maximalist or an XRP maximalist. This is just what he says, and I got to tell you, I believe him. I see the logic here. Bitcoin can make a great store of value, and that's what all the Bitcoin maximalists are talking about right now. You know, that, hey, Bitcoin's great. You can put your money in there and it'll be safe. It's not like in Venezuela where it's hyperinflation, you lose all your money. You put in Bitcoin, everything's stored there. All right, I suppose. If you would have done that at the beginning of the year, you would have actually made money. However, if you would have invested at 14,000, you would have lost money. So who knows? Also, he talks about how XRP could be used as a medium of exchange, and we certainly see that in different cross-border payments, and then the potential of the CBDC, the central bank digital coins, which are coming out fast and furious. China has their e-yuan. There's digital coin, central bank coin coming out of France. There's a lot of different things coming down the pipe. So XRP could be used as a medium of exchanging all those on top of cross-border payments. So who knows? We will see. I like to think about it like this. If Bitcoin, so what it's really saying here is that out of those three things, secure, scalable, and decentralized, Bitcoin is great at being secure, right? Unhackable. It is decentralized. No one can dispute that. I mean, there's a ton of nodes out there, and there's a lot of people that are invested into Bitcoin. The problem is that it's not right now truly scalable. And of course, Bitcoin maximalists will say that's not true because we have all these side chains and there's all these projects. Well, yes, that's true. However, Bitcoin can't process as many transactions as, say, like a Visa or even a MasterCard. It's very slow right now. So I think as time goes on and people work on it, because there's a lot of people behind the project itself, I think it can do a lot of great things. Just right now, it has to overcome that scalability issue. Now, the other problem, let me see here, anything down here? The problem with XRP is that, not that it's secure, it's very secure. Not that it's scalable. We see that XRP is going for all the different banks, all the different central banks, and trying to do a lot of different things. But the decentralization is the real key here. XRP, they're saying, is not decentralized. So if it can overcome that issue, which we're going to talk about in the next article, then it can be a perfect cryptocurrency. And I got to say, yeah, sounds pretty good to me because I've invested in both. Now, I'm not telling you to invest. Remember, channels for education are entertainment purposes only. So do your own research, but this is what I have in my portfolio. All right, moving on to our last story. So this was a great one, and it was by an op-ed by Mati Greenspan. He talks about how the low XRP price has two possible main reasons, and they made total sense to me. So first of all, I'm like, again, who the hell is this guy? Mati Greenspan. Nice bow tie. Looks like a sharp educational guy. If I wore a bow tie, I'd probably look smart myself. But Mati, that's a good name. I like that name. Mati Greenspan from Israel. He is the founder of Quantum Economics, and he's been a contributor to Business Insider, frequently quoted by financial rags like Bloomberg, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Reuters, Yahoo Finance, and Times Money magazine. So not a slouch in that department. And he also talks about how he works at eToro. Now, if you're listening to this on YouTube, which you definitely are, you've probably seen the eToro commercial right now. A lot of different, it's all over the place, and that has to do with investing into digital assets and cryptocurrency. But he just talks about all the things that he's done, preparing training videos, Facebook streams, speaking at seminars, all this great stuff. So, okay, that lends itself to credibility of this gentleman. So I had to take a look at his website real quick just to see what it was all about. Nice, slick website, and it's all about Mati here. Bloomberg, CoinSpeak. He's like I said, former eToro analyst, and quoted in the Financial Times, Bloomberg Radio. All right, so we're good to go with Mati. So let's see what he has to say. So with Mati here, There was a question that came up, and this was from Simon Ellison. Don't know who that is, but the question was posed. Do you think XRP adoption will lead to positive prices? And why is the price dropping when there's so much good news? Don't understand. Mati talks about, look, prospects are still quite bullish for the long term on both coins, talking about Bitcoin and XRP. I agree with that. In my view, as he states, if Bitcoin does as well as it did this year, we could be testing the highs very soon. Mati, I like your style. XRP faces short-term selling pressure from Ripple as well as adoption issues within the network. Selling pressure. So let's look at that. So when it all comes down to it, Mati believes that there are two major issues with XRP that is preventing its price from rising, and those issues are directly from Ripple. The first issue is that Ripple holds a boatload of XRP coins and keeps throwing them onto the market on a regular basis, aka the dumping. The second is that often in order to use the Ripple technology, banks do not need XRP. So this comes down to education, and this guy is totally right. Ripple dumps like crazy because the amount of maximum supply of XRP is 100 billion XRP total. It'd be great if it was like Bitcoin with 21 million, but it has 100 billion XRP in existence. So also the problem is that Ripple owns roughly 55% of those now. So they have 55 billion. So that is a centralization problem. And that is the truth. So let's take a look at dumping real quick. Dumping, as Ripple likes to talk about, or it's Xrp Escrow, that's what they call it. And it talks about to provide additional predictability to the XRP supply, Ripple has locked 55 billion, 55% of the total possible supply, into a series of escrows. These escrows are on the ledger itself, and the ledger mechanics enforced by consensus control the release of the XRP. Well, first of all, every month 1 billion gets dumped onto the market for people to buy. If they do not buy, it goes back into that escrow to the very bottom, to not the next month, but after all the months, after all it's all done, then that escrow will be released. Kind of like, from what I see in my mind, it's kind of like a smart contract essentially, but there's a consensus. So my question was this: it's a consensus of who? Who is in this consensus? Because doesn't Ripple control 55% of the XRP, which means that it is not decentralized. So let's take a look here at nodes, or what they call the validator registry. So XRP, in its ability to try to become more decentralized, it said, look, we have to have these validators. We can't have everything. So they have numerous, I think it's over 100 validators, something like that, and growing. So you can see that the domains, here they all are: Coil, Data, Flagship Solutions, I don't know who, Rabbitco, KU, but here's Ripple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then more down here: Frozen Ripples, John Nelson, No Comp Company, Brex. I don't know who all these people are, but they're all validators. So on that part, as far as nodes go or validators go, yeah, that part is decentralized. There's not just one failure point. There's not one point of Ripple, somebody in one computer going, okay, I'm going to validate all these transactions. They have validators out there. They are doing those things. That is the blockchain. Okay, so we got that. The problem still remains, which is, hey, Ripple's got 55% of these coins, and that ain't good. But before we move on, I want to talk about like what it would take to become a validator, because I was like, well, maybe I could do that. But so I go to XRP Ledger. This is xrpledger.org, and it says each Rippled server connects to a network of peers, relays cryptographically signed transactions, and maintains a local copy of the complete shared global ledger, i.e. on the blockchain. A Rippled server running in validator mode additionally participates in the consensus process and is part of an interconnected web of validators who each trust a specific set of validators not to collude or not to work together. So as I was reading down, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do this because I don't have the know-how or the time or anything else like that. So yeah, but if you are one of those people, you're a developer, you want to run a validator, here's your opportunity. I will link in the description below. So then, The question then becomes, so we know that this is happening, and every month that 1 billion XRP is being dumped onto the market. So the question then becomes, why? Why are they doing it? Okay, so why is Ripple dumping all these XRP? It's screwing up everything. And if you guys don't know, I talk about this sometimes, but Ripple is engaged in a legal lawsuit, and that lawsuit is about securities. There was a couple of investors who are suing Ripple because they're saying, hey, you sold us a security and you screwed us and we lost a bunch of money, which if you invest in 2017 at the height of the bull market, everybody lost money. But yeah, that's just how it was. But so the question that came was, is the SEC going to decry or decide that XRP is a security? And how do we know this? Well, there's this thing called a Howey Test, and SEC has applied the Howey Test to different cryptocurrencies, and we're going to dive into that right here. So first of all, the Howey Test, it was by a case a long time ago with W.J. Howey, some farming. I don't want to go into that. It's not important. But following the case, the SEC devised a Howey Test as a means of determining whether an offering counted as a security. There's 4 criteria. The offer involves a monetary investment, check. Expectation of profits from the investment, check. The investment is in a common enterprise where everybody's in bed together, essentially. And any profits comes from the efforts of a promoter or a third party. So the SEC took a look at that and said, we're going to apply that to Bitcoin. And this is how it all came out. So the Howey Test. Was there monetary investment for Bitcoin? Yeah. Not initially, I suppose. Expectation of profits. Yes, but not initially. Because remember in 2009, no one thought that Bitcoin would be $20,000. It was pennies on the dollar. It was just pennies, fractions of pennies. Was there invested in a common enterprise? No. Profits from a third party? No. So they just said Bitcoin is not a security. So moving down, they also took a look at Ethereum. They say, well, let's do the Howey Test with that. Monetary investment? Yes. Expectation of profits? Yes. Investment in a common enterprise? Yes. We're going to go into it. Profits from a third party? Maybe. And it actually became no, because Ethereum was declared not a security in late 2018. This was by William Hinman, director of the, what is that? Division of Corporate Finance at the SEC. Great. So based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network, and its decentralized structure, current offers and sales of Ether are not security transactions. That word right there, decentralized. That's the money maker, or the money loser if you're determined as security. If it's not decentralized, you got problems. So this is why XRP is moving in this direction. I believe in the beginning, it didn't seem like they were really moving too much. The validators weren't really being put in place. They weren't selling XRP as they weren't putting in an escrow. That was for sure. This is generally a new thing. I think like a year or so. So yeah, this is actually a good thing to move towards decentralization. And there's one more I want to look at, and that was EOS. So the Howey Test, they said, okay, was there an investment? Yep. Expectation of profits? Yes. Investment in common enterprise? Yes. Block 1. Was there profits from a third party? Absolutely. So I'm going to show you something about this. Even with all that, the SEC, they cracked down on EOS. They said, hey, guys, sorry, but you're going to have to pay us $24 million, which for most businesses would be a death sentence. But for EOS, how do you want to say it? I don't know how to say it. They said that's no problem because guess what? We made a total of $4.1 billion. So, okay, SEC, that's fine. Slap on the wrist. We've learned our lesson, and we're not going to do that again because we're not going to have another ICO. And they paid $24 million. So the fine amounts to 0.58% of the initial raise. In its press release, Block 1 said the settlement only applies to the sale of the original ERC20 token it sold. EOS holders swapped their Ethereum-based tokens with the proper EOS tokens when the network first went live. I did this because I was a part of, I bought those EOS tokens when they were ERC20 tokens, and we had to go with this whole swap. It was a big pain in the ass for me because I'm not really adept at these types of things, but I made it through, no big deal. And the thing, my question was this: if they got busted for that, moving forward with these EOS tokens, are those considered a security? But it states here, more significantly, Block 1 statement said that its ERC20 token is no longer in circulation and will not require the token to be registered as a security with the SEC. So most of these ICOs, securities, right? If you are decentralized, looks like they're kind of leaning to you are safe and not a security, but that's not for me to decide. Hell, I'm not a judge, I'm a lawyer. Don't even play one on TV. So it's all up to the courts right now, but that decentralization, that word is what is so important, I believe, to Ripple and XRP. They are moving that way. However, it's screwing things up for us as the investor because they keep dumping every month, right? Let's call a spade a spade. So here's my question to you guys, and you can put this in the comments below because I don't know. I rely on the brain power of others, especially in this situation. So my question is this: is there a better way to get rid of all of Ripple's XRP? Because they've got 55 billion. So is there a better way to do this? Is there a better way than dumping $1 billion every month? Because can they just dump 55 billion on the market? That would destroy everything, right? 55 billion worth of XRP. The price would be fractions of a penny again. Every month, is that a good idea? And then here's my next question to you guys. Which is better? Knowing when Ripple dumps, which we know it's going to come every month, it's 1 billion XRP. And then whatever's not sold just goes back into the escrow. Is that good? Or is that better? Or is it better just to not know, like when a whale dumps a boatload of Bitcoin or Ethereum that they've accumulated in the past or that they've scammed out of others? We've heard a lot of these scammers and different things that have been going on, and they have a massive amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum, especially like with Mt. Gox. God damn, that one sucked. But they dump a lot, and is that a problem? Would you rather know it or not know it? Now we know that this can happen every month. The whales, we have no idea. It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. So leave that in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you think, and to get a consensus, to get a consensus of what everybody thinks. That would be interesting. And then next question is, wouldn't it be better if Ripple just released all of its XRP right onto the market right now, and then we can start from fresh? Like, okay, boom, now we know where we're at. Let's go from there. What would happen? Well, there'd be massive sell orders. It would never get filled. It would get filled at some point, some year. But who knows? Right now, there's not a demand for it because these banks are using Xcurrent. Out of all these different banks that have come through, the 200, 300 partnerships, majority are just using Ripple's Xcurrent. Let's be honest. They're not using XRP. And why? So there's a couple of things that I started to think about. How do we define decentralization? Is it just the nodes? Is it just the validators? Because Bitcoin has a distributed ledger, so that's definitely decentralized. But so does XRP. They have a distributed ledger. They have those validators. And look, even EOS has validators, or these other. There are 21 validators for EOS, I believe, and that's it. So if you're looking at decentralized, well, there's not one center point, so that is decentralized. I think the more you have, the better, right? But if you're looking at it, Bitcoin has a boatload, XRP has over 100 plus validators, EOS has 21, so there we are. The next question is then, well, who has all the coins? Well, right now Ripple has all the coins, so that's a centralization of power, of money, of all these different tokens in one place, and that ain't good for right now. And the next thing is, well, what about the mining? Well, XRP was pre-mined, right? There was no proof of work. It was just all created and then given to Ripple, which was actually created after XRP. But Bitcoin is all mined, and it's taking mass amounts of power. So that is a decentralized aspect, correct? Well, kinda. Not so much. Let's take a look here. This is from blockchain.com. This is all the pools that are going on pretty much right now in December 2019. So these are all the different mining pools, which if you look at it, unknown, 26.5%. Great. I'm guessing these are like, the mom and pop places that are just doing little things like Mr. Christoph, one of our friendly YouTubers. But then you got these guys, Antpool, Bitcoin.com, F2 Pool, and that's a boatload. Who the hell are they? Well, I'll just tell you this. Jian Wu founded Bitcoin, or Bitmain, and maintains Antpool. What's Antpool? It's about 10%. And then Bitmain, which he was a part of, that's the other one. And that is right here. So you're looking at Bitcoin.com or Bitmain is 12%. Antpool is 9%. That's around 20%. If my math is right, maybe 21%, something like that. That's a lot. And then if you look at all these different ones, where are these all located? Well, I'll tell you where they're located. 81% are in China. And then you have the rest in Czech Republic, Iceland, Japan, Russia, Georgia, whatever. So you have a centralization of miners. Now it's just one country. But if you're looking at like Bitmain and Jianwu and those types of places, that's a big concentration. Now it used to be more, but Bitmain had a little breakup, and here we are. So that's how I see decentralization. Is it who has all the coins, who has all the money, who has, or where are the miners, and where are all the validators or the ledgers? Where are these distributed ledgers? Is it centralized or is it scattered about? So for me, that's kind of helps me think about like what is decentralization, what is centralization. So yeah, so right now it's not looking so hot for Ripple and XRP because of this issue with these 55%. But I gotta ask that question. What's better? Knowing when they're gonna dump or the whales that do? And then is there a better way for XRP or Ripple to get that XRP out to the masses? What do you want to do? Give it to charity? I have no idea. Okay, so back here we are. So that takes care of the dumping part. That took a little bit longer than I thought it would, sorry. But the second part is, the second part that Mati Greenspan talks about is that in order to use the Ripple's technology, banks don't need XRP. And that's totally correct. Banks can just sign up with Ripple and be like, I'm going to use your ledger, your distributed ledger, and I'm not going to use XRP. So why would I use XRP? It makes no sense. I'm going to watch a video. Have you guys watch a video real quick. It's just about a minute and a half, 2 minutes or so. And it talks about the difference between XRP or Xcurrent and Xrapid. Check this out.
So when we read this in the news, and we were talking about this earlier with Chain, we have the CEO of Chain up here. When we read headlines that another bank or another big client has signed on with Ripple, what does that really mean in practice?
What it means is that someone has signed up to use our technology to enable cross-border payment flows. I think what the confusion that happens in the marketplace is that our core product, kind of our flagship product, is called Xcurrent. And Xcurrent is solving really the messaging and settlement problem that exists in the financial system today. Humorously, frankly, I point out to people that if the three of us decided we needed to get $10,000 or 10,000 pounds to London today, the fastest way for us to do that is to go buy a ticket, EWR or JFK, and fly it there. And that's just a fact. Obviously, that seems crazy in a world of the internet. I can stream video from the space station. So what that Xcurrent is enabling is real-time messaging, real-time settlement between banks. The confusion that I think people are like, well, wait a minute, how's XRP fit? XRP is used in our second product called Xrapid. Xrapid is solving a liquidity problem. So it's the messaging is, I have an existing pool of capital between the Bank of Andy and the Bank of Dan. You're using big bank, very successful bank.
Bank of Dan is a good one. Yeah.
Bank of Dan. Andy's bank, a lot of compliance issues.
Oh.
These two banks are using Xcurrent to settle fiat. A key point here. What happens though is you decide you want to settle with the Bank of Brad. The Bank of Brad is in Argentina and we're using pesos. You don't want to pre-fund pesos in my bank. Now, part of that is because that requires an outlay of capital, that's dormant capital. Part of that is because you now have a compliance check that you're doing annually and quarterly. There's cost associated with that. And if it's the Argentinian peso, you have an inflation problem. So you put $100,000 US dollars worth of, or probably $100 million worth of US dollars there that is now going to be worth less over time. What Xrp allows you to do is to have real-time liquidity. The Bank of Andy can sell $1, buy XRP. That XRP can then be moved to an Argentinian digital asset exchange. You can sell the XRP and buy an Argentinian peso, and now you have good liquid funds in less than 10 seconds in another market.
So that's the difference right there. So like for me, when I hear this, I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that every bank that does cross-border payments, any kind of provider that does cross-border payments, they have to pre-fund all throughout the world. I mean, millions and billions of dollars, which accounts to $20 trillion in what's called these nostro vostro accounts, just sitting there dormant. Now, of course, they're being used, but not 100% at all times, but just money just sitting there, like what Brad was talking about here. So that's a problem. If I could get immediate liquidity, if you're a small business owner like me, and you know how important liquidity is. Look, I sell different products on Amazon. I have my own website business where I do education. But I will tell you this: if I could go to my distributor in China or the ones I have here in the US, and I could say, look, I'm not going to prepay you for all of these products. I want you to take those products that I want to buy. I want you to send them to Amazon. They get sold, and then once I get the money for the sale of that, then I will give it to you. So I don't have to pre-fund anything. I mean, it's a loose interpretation, but it's the same thing. So like, if you're a bank or provider and you're like, wait, I don't have to stick billions of dollars into another bank, and I can just settle this within 3 seconds. I mean, I could do it pretty fast with your ex-current, great, but you're telling me that I can hold that money back and I can use that for my business. I could build more infrastructure. I could do training. I could do expansion. I could do loans. I could do whatever I want with this money that was just sitting there before. And now all I had to do is just use XRP. Oh, and it's even cheaper to use it than ex-current. Wow. F you, I'm not going to do that. I think you would. So there was that part. But then this next part, this is the last one. It's 2 minutes. And I compare this to, it's called a tripwire and a gateway drug. It's going to make sense crystal clear in a second.
Now I want to make sure that we define our terms, Trevor, in terms of XRP, the token of Xrp, Ripple, the company. I think there's some confusion there. Very often we hear financial institutions talk about blockchain. They talk about using blockchain, but without any cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, they sort of, I don't want to have to deal with that, but I like blockchain. And so in this example you've just brought up, in fact, let's say the Bank of Andy says, okay, I like the idea of the international payment going faster, less friction, but I don't really know about XRP. I don't want to use that. Can that be, that's a back-end settlement token, really.
That is how we engage customers.
Right there. That's how we engage customers. So I was in sales for a number of years, medical device company. Went and I would instruct and teach doctors and nurses how to apply a certain wound product. And I can tell you like this, and this also works for my online platform. So it's called a tripwire. People in sales know what a tripwire is. A tripwire is, look, I'm going to give you something that isn't of, fantastic, unbelievable value, but it's valuable to you, and it's for a low cost, and it's going to help you out. Okay, that just gets my foot in the door, right? And you'll see this all the way throughout the internet. Like, you go to a website, you say, hey, sign up for our this information on investing or whatever it is, and just give me your email. Okay, great. So you get an email. They give you this PDF, and that's like a little tripwire. And they'll say, hey, if you like this, then if you just pay me $7, I'll send you the more information, and maybe it's actually a book, a hardcover book or something, and I'm going to send it to you for only $7, and it's like all my information that you could ever need. Great, $7, tripwire. I'll buy that. Now they got you, because they're like, okay, out of all those people, maybe 20%, 15%, depends on the market. They say, look, you sign up for my free email, you got my book, and it sounds like you're interested. I've got a course that it's going to help you achieve your goals of X, Y, and Z. It's going to be super fast. It's going to save you a lot of time. I'm going to guarantee, double your money back guarantee. And all you got to do is pay me X, $500, $1,000, right? That's the big type of product. So when Brad talks about this and he goes, look, we go in there and they don't know. At XRP, they say, oh, it's cryptocurrency. Hold on, cryptocurrency. Isn't that for Silk Road? Isn't that for funding terrorism? Isn't that for drugs and cartels? I don't like that. Hold on, but you got another product called Xcurrent. And you're telling me that I can do this faster? I can do this in seconds as opposed to using Swift? And the fees are less than that? I like that. I do like that. I don't know about this XRP, but I like that Xcurrent. And that gets them in the door. And then later on, they say, hey, if you like this, maybe you might like this other thing, which is faster, saves you even more fees. Oh, and there's this thing called liquidity, which I can help free up all those funds in your Nostro Vostro accounts. Well, that sounds all right. Let's take a listen.
Clearly there's a lot of misunderstanding about digital assets, and I think some of it's been clarified in the panels today. What is interesting, and a quick anecdote, even before Andy and I had met, I was a CEO of a voice over IP company. I was a telco guy way back when, pre-Yahoo. And actually, I came into Yahoo. Yahoo bought a company called Dialpad. I sat down with the CEO, at the time, he was a very senior guy at SBC Communications. His name's Randall Stevenson.
I've heard of him.
He's now the CEO of AT&T. Mm-hmm. Randall Stevenson said to me in 2000, AT&T, was the time SBC, will never use IP for voice traffic. Now, his point was, look, we have a robust analog switch network that works for voice brilliantly. We'll invest in data. We'll invest in IP data. We'll have a separate network for that, and that's how it evolved. Well, today, there is no voice network at AT&T. It's all IP. I think the exact same thing is going to happen in the banking world. I talk to senior banks, people who are close to the company Ripple. They're invested in us, and they're like, hey, look, we love what you're doing around Xcurrent. Not sure yet about Xrapid. That's fine. It's Randall Stevenson. Like, I'm having an echo chamber. The Xrapid product gives you a faster product at a lower price. Do we really not think that people are going to say, that's kind of interesting? So over time, I view this absolutely as a crawl, walk, run.
Okay, right there. This is how I compare it. It's like a gateway drug, right? Look, like I said, I'm over 40. I can remember when Blockbuster was in business. And I can tell you right now, when I would go there, I would rent my favorite VHS movie or whatever else it was. It was $3.99, $2.99 with a coupon. Remember coupons? And I would get this movie. I'd take it home, like, great. And then I would always forget to take it back. And there was like these fees. I remember one time I paid like $12 in fees. So like one movie cost me like $16. And I was like, damn, I should have just went to the movie theater. However, Netflix was around that time. And I was like, that makes no sense. Why would I do that? It's crappy and there's not that many selection. And okay, it is only $5.99, but yeah, I want all the new releases and such. Well, then as time went on, I signed up for Netflix, and guess what? It was awesome. There's all these different things, and I could watch these different series, and I can binge watch, and I can Netflix and chill. Wah, wah. So yeah, it was a pretty great type of thing. I kind of compare that to this. It's like a gateway drug. You get your foot in the door. You like what we're doing? Great. I got a better product for you. And I can do this types of things with on-demand liquidity, which is awesome. The last thing, and then this will wrap up the video for today because we were going way over. This was interesting to me. I had no idea this was even a thing. I didn't know that small banks and big banks are screwing over small banks. This is 45 seconds. Listen to this.
Look, the lowest common denominator for cross-border transactions is enabled through SWIFT. It's enabled through this correspondent banking network. And there are a very small number of banks who dominate that, and they extract billions of dollars of profit from the rest of the banks. They sit on the top. When you ask why is Jamie Dimon, saying things about Jamie Dimon, well, actually, Citi is kind of number one, HSBC is probably number two, but JPM is way up there at the top, and they're making a lot of money from other banks. When we go talk to banks, 99.9% of banks, they're like, we want Ripple to be successful. Because I'm sick of paying these guys, and they're taking a lot of money from me that I then have to take from my customer. And why do I want to feed Citi to be more competitive with me in this local market?
Or at the very least, they've heard that.
And that's it for today. So I hope you guys found that enlightening. I know it was a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff out there because some of the answers are not as simple as yes and no. There's a lot of different variables out there. And but I will tell you this, though. It was fun to find all this information and to get all the information that I could extract and find out all this all the things that I needed to know about this. And I feel that as time goes on, Bitcoin, great type of cryptocurrency digital asset, and XRP, I like that. I like Ethereum, I like EOS, I like Chainlink. Actually, I really need to talk about more. And Cardano. But thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.